Now, my dad is a big guy. You wouldn't think anything could make him nervous. He has dark brown skin like mine, piercing brown eyes, a bald head, and a goatee, so he looks like a buff evil scientist. That afternoon, he wore his cashmere winter coat and his best brown suit, the one that he used for public lectures. Usually, he exudes so much confidence that he dominates any room he walks into. But sometimes, like that afternoon, I saw another side of him that I really didn't understand. He kept looking over his shoulder like they were being hunted. "Dad?" I said as we were getting off the A40. "What's wrong?" "No sign of them," he muttered. Then he must have realized he'd spoken aloud, because he looked at me kind of startled. "Nothing, Carter. Everything's fine." Which bothered me because my dad's a terrible liar. I always knew when he was hiding something, but I also knew there was no amount of pestering would get the truth out of him. He was probably trying to protect me, though from what, I didn't know. Sometimes I wondered if he had some dark secret in his past, some old enemy following him. Maybe, but the idea seemed ridiculous. Dad was just an archaeologist. The other thing that troubled me, Dad was clutching his work bag. Usually when he does that, it means we're in danger. Like the time gunmen stormed into our hotel in Cairo, I heard shots coming from the lobby and ran downstairs to check on my dad. By the time I got there, he was just calmly zipping up his work bag, while three unconscious gunmen hung by their feet from the chandelier, the robes falling over their heads so you could see their boxer shorts. Dad claimed not to have witnessed anything, and in the end the police blamed a freak chandelier malfunction. Another time we got caught in a riot in Paris. My dad found the nearest parked car, pushed me into the back seat, and told me to stay down. I pressed myself against the floorboards and kept my eyes shut tight. I could hear Dad in the driver's seat rummaging in his bag, mumbling something to himself, while the mob yelled and destroyed things outside. A few minutes later, he told me it was safe to get up. Every other car on the block had been overturned and set on fire. Our car had been freshly washed and polished, and several 20-euro notes had been tucked under the windshield wipers. Anyway, I'd come to respect the bag. It was our good luck charm. But when my dad kept it close, it meant we were going to need good luck. We drove through the city center, heading east towards my grandparents' flat. We passed the golden gates of Buckingham Palace, the big stone column of Trafalgar Square. London is a pretty cool place, but after you've traveled for so long, all cities start to blend together. Other kids I meet sometimes say, "Wow, you're so lucky you get to travel so much." But it's not like we spend our time sightseeing, or have a lot of money to travel in style. We've stayed in some pretty rough places, and we hardly ever stay anywhere longer than a few days. Most of the time it feels like we're fugitives rather than tourists. I mean, you wouldn't think that my dad's work was dangerous. He does lectures on topics like, "Can Egyptian magic really kill you?" and "Favorite punishments in the Egyptian underworld," and other stuff most people wouldn't care about. But like I said, there's that other side to him. He's always very cautious, checking every hotel room before he lets me walk into it. He'll dart into a museum to see some artifacts, take a few notes, and rush out again like he's afraid to be caught on the security cameras. One time when I was younger, we raced across the Charles de Gaulle airport to catch a last-minute flight, and Dad didn't relax until the plane was off the ground. I asked him point blank what he was running from, and he looked at me like I'd just pulled the pin out of a grenade. For a second I was scared he might actually tell me the truth. Then he said, "Carter, it's nothing," as if nothing were the most terrible thing in the world. After that I decided maybe it was better not to ask questions. My grandparents, the Fausts, live in a housing development in Canary Wharf, right on the banks of the River Thames. The taxi let us out at the curb, and my dad asked the driver to wait. We were halfway up the walk when Dad froze. He turned and looked behind us. "What?" I asked. Then I saw the man in the trench coat. He was across the street leaning against a big dead tree. He was barrel-shaped with dark skin the color of roasted coffee. His coat and black pinstripe suit looked expensive. He had long braided hair and wore a black fedora pulled down low over his dark round glasses. He reminded me of a jazz musician, the kind my dad would always drag me to see in concert. Even though I couldn't see his eyes, I got the impression he was watching us. He might have been an old friend or colleague of Dad's. No matter where he went, Dad was always running into people he knew. But it did seem strange the way the guy was waiting there, outside my grandparents' apartment, and he did not look happy.